Brown.
Mr Deputy Speaker, the only aspect to welcome of this rehashed statement is actually acknowledgement from the Minister that the current proposals are insufficient to avoid a catastrophe. What we should be getting today is also an updated, proper statement on energy security, the net zero update, which would reflect additional investment in renewables, pumped storage hydro, Peterhead CCS, for example, what's happening in the Rough gas storage facility, the decoupling of renewables from gas, and also grid upgrades looking forward. The reality is, at the moment, 6.5 million households are in fuel poverty. If the energy cap increase goes ahead as planned, then 9 million households will be in fuel poverty. So what's the Minister's red line on the acceptable number of households that will be left in fuel poverty? What does he say to the businesses that have had no support to date? Does he agree with Make UK, who say 60% of manufacturing businesses are now at risk? What assessment is made of the impact on agriculture and the food and drink industry? And does he agree that the proposed tax cuts proposed by the incoming Prime Minister will actually adversely help the rich and do nothing for the lowest paid workers? The incoming Prime Minister talked of scrapping the Green Levy. She actually explained to the incoming Prime Minister there is no single Green Levy, and that isn't actually a solution to reducing household bills. On nuclear, will he confirm that Hinkley Point C is now nearly 50% over budget? It's years late, and the EDF are now wanting a delay to the payment start dates. For Sizewell C, will he confirm that the upper estimate for construction and finance is £63 billion? That's £63 billion to be added to bill payers' bills, and it won't actually reduce energy bills in the future. In 2019, the NDA estimate for the nuclear clean-up cost was £131 billion. When we got an updated figure, and surely that in itself indicates we need to end this nuclear folly and madness. And finally, does the Minister agree that urgently his government needs to introduce a freeze in the energy cap, urgent support for businesses, but also the need to review budget allocations to councils and devolved governments so that energy pressures in schools, the NHSs, transport and care services can be properly funded during this time of emergency?
Well, Mr Deputy Speaker, there was a lot of questions, so I commend him for his ability to squeeze a lot in there. Very quickly, on additional investment in renewables. Look, this government, we are now moving to annual allocation rounds on our renewable auctions. That is a very, very strong achievement. This government has invested a huge amount in renewables, particularly through the CFD system, which I'd urge him to support. On rough gas storage, he'll know that we made an announcement recently on where we are with Centrica on rough gas storage. That continues to proceed forward. On fuel poverty, I'll remind him that fuel poverty is devolved, so he may wish to have a word with the Scottish Government, which I have reason to believe, Mr Deputy Speaker, he may be close to. He also mentions businesses, and I'll remind him that businesses, the cost for businesses of energy is right at the top of the in tray of our new Prime Minister. He mentions the food and drink sector, and I'm sure that is also the case there. He asked about tax, and that will be a matter for the Treasury and also for future announcements. He mentioned nuclear budgets. And I'm actually, Mr Deputy Speaker, getting a bit fed up with the SNP's obsessive anti-nuclear behaviour. It's exactly this kind of no-saying that has got us into the problem in the first place of not having enough nuclear power in this country. Thankfully, earlier this year, the Prime Minister rectified that with the British Energy Security Strategy, making sure that we get to 24 gigawatts of nuclear power by the year 2050. And the cost on Hinkley Point C, actually, I think you'll find that strike price, which was negotiated by the then Chancellor of the Exchequer, George Osborne, and by myself as Chief Secretary of the Treasury, compares very favourably with energy prices today. And then finally, Mr Deputy Speaker, I think I heard a complaint from him about budget allocations to councils, which I thought was the most extraordinary thing coming from the SNP. This is the party that in Scotland that has been hammering and hemorrhaging council budgets and expecting them to be able to collect the rubbish with a vastly decreased amount of budgetary contribution. So I again urge him to have a word with his friends in Edinburgh who are running the Scottish Government and to see if they might be able to do something to improve the budget allocations for Scottish councils.